Hey, welcome back. So today I'm going to teach you how to power wash and restain a fence that already has stain on it. Now the reason we're doing this fence today, this stain, I did this fence about 4 years ago, and we were never just really happy with the stain. I went really cheap on the stain product. So when we get to restaining, I will show you what I used before, what I'm using this time, and what I would use if I had a bigger budget. But this stain turned out really orange. It did not hold up very well to the sun. It got really beat up. And then we got a little bit of hail damage last year, and it really just peppered the whole fence. Now this bit of fence behind me, this is actually was out of the direction of the hail, so it doesn't have hail damage on it. But the rest of it got really peppered. And then this side is also north facing. It doesn't get a lot of sun. The other sides that were facing the sun, which you can see, I've already power washed those other bits of the fence. That was what was really bad. But they just got really deteriorated by the sun. It's about 4 years old, and now we're going to strip the old stain off and then put new stain on it. Quick note before we begin, because this fence is so new, I'm not really worried about molds or mildews. But if you are working on a really old fence that is maybe doesn't have any stain on it and it's covered in that black mold and mildew looking stuff, you're gonna probably wanna make sure to wear some PPE, some respirator, at the least a paper mask. You don't wanna be getting that stuff in your lungs. You're gonna kick up a bunch of it with the power washer. This I'm not too worried about. This is pretty fresh wood still. But if you were working on old wood, make sure you protect your lungs. Here's the power washer I'm using today for this project. This is mostly your in-house use, well, not in-house, don't use it in your house, your exterior use, home use power washer, just your Ryobi 2000 PSI. If you have one of these laying around, it will get the job done. Probably not my most preferred power washer for the job. If I was doing this again, or if I didn't have one of these, I would highly recommend just renting a commercial power washer. This power washer is 2000 PSI. And it gets it done, but it is slow go. You really need something that's between 3,000 and 4,000 PSI that can really move a lot faster. And you probably have this job done 3 times as fast as what I'm going through. Right here, you can see the difference between the stain that I've already power washed. I've stripped it completely down to the cedar, and the fence that still has stain on it. So this is the goal. We're taking all of this old stain off. We're stripping it down with the power washer. Okay, before you turn your power washer on, you've got the water onto it. You want to make sure, before you turn this thing on, pull the tip off and just run some water through it. When you first turn the water on, you're going to have a bunch of air in the line. And you want to get all that air out, because otherwise you're not going to prime your pump. You're going to damage your power washer. So just let water run for 30 seconds or a minute. So you get all that air out of line. We're just priming the power washer. If you don't do this, you're gonna have low pressure, it's gonna sputter, and you might damage your power washer. When you wash your fence, you're gonna wanna make sure you follow the wood grain. So you're gonna go vertical on the slats, up and down, and you're gonna go horizontal on the cross members across. Do not wash your fence this way. You're gonna end up really blotchy with missed patterns, and it's not gonna look good when you're finished. Always follow the wood grain and just take it slow. Last note before I begin, you're going to want to use one of the circular tips, one that spins. If you use the fan tip, it's just not going to have enough pressure in a single point. And if you use just the stream tip, it's going to be too much concentrated pressure. It will cut into the wood. So the circular tip gets you a nice pattern. It's actually cutting into the wood while spinning around, and that's what you're going to want to use. So I'll show you real quick what that looks like. Yeah. After you spray a section, you're gonna find that the power washer probably ate into your wood a little bit and started to make it splinter in some areas. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this dry, and then we're gonna hit it just with a push broom, a really stiff bristled brush, and we're just gonna try to knock off all of these splinters, the big ones at least, before we put the new stain on it. So there you go. The fence is dry. I turned off the sprinklers last night because we're getting ready to stain it today. And I just brushed the splinters off with a push broom. And you can see that we knocked off pretty much all the splinters that had gotten eaten into it from the power washer. All right, so the fence has been power washed. We let it dry overnight and then brushed off the splinters, and we're getting ready to stain it. So this year we're gonna use the Behr premium product. It's a Cedar Naturaltone semi-transparent penetrating oil. This was $165 for the 5-gallon bucket. I expect I'll use all of it. I did last time. Last time I used a product made by Olympic, and it was that real orange tint, and it just did not hold up well at all to the elements. Now, if I had the budget that I wanted to do the best job possible, I would be using Sickens Natural, probably the best product on the market for this job. Now we are going to spray it with a deck sprayer and then back roll it. So this is just the Home Depot deck sprayer. Don't get the cheapest one, get the next one up. Make sure it has seals and stains as one of the functions. It's got different volume controls, and you can see, so we're gonna use this guy here, which is for seals and stains. And then we're gonna back roll it with the rough 3/4 inch Nap Woodster, and hopefully that's good enough. Now, last time I used the old Wagner sprayer. It does a great job of putting on a nice even coat. The only problem is today's a little bit breezy, so this probably wouldn't work, and you spend more time filling up the hopper than you do actually putting stain on the fence. So hopefully this goes better this year and it doesn't get too windy. Okay, I was having a heck of a time getting the stain out of this bucket and into my sprayer. I tried pouring it and it was going everywhere. I tried a couple different methods. This is what I came up with. So if you used to homebrew and you've got an old auto siphon laying around like I did, that's a great way to just siphon it out. So going a little slow, but it sure is a much cleaner way to get the paint or the stain out of the bucket. All right, so it's 5:45 in the morning. Next day, I got the 5 gallons on. I only did the side fences and it just ate through that. I had to go buy some more. When I got back, the wind was just picking up too much. I've got a neighbor that lives behind the back fence and the wind was blowing that direction. This oil-based stain, it doesn't dry very fast. So those little particles, if they get taken by the wind and you've got a car or another house, you're gonna get stain all over the windows, little microscopic little bubbles. So I probably would have been in a lot of trouble with my neighbor had I gone ahead and done it. So I decided to call it a night, and I'm out here next morning. There's no wind. It's a nice, beautiful morning, and I also found a better way to get the paint out of the bucket, which is simply buy 1 gallon buckets. This should be much easier. We'll see how this goes. Oh, so much better. Look at that. Yeah, this is the way to do it. I sprayed the fence slowly, nice, even top to bottom pattern, following the wood grain, taking my time to make sure I get even coverage. It would overlap about half of my spray on the next pass. And make sure you know what's behind you. I was trying to be careful not to get overspray over the top of the fence. There was one section where I did have some overspray, and I will show you a little later in the video where that happened. You're gonna have a little bit of overspray. You're gonna wanna make sure you know what's behind you. And I would usually do about no more than 10 to 12 feet of fence at a time before I would stop and come back and roll.
After I sprayed a section of fence, I would come back with the 3/4 inch Nap roller, the Woodster roller, and I would just simply back roll everything that was just sprayed, making sure to get all the runs rolled out if you have any, and just make sure everything has good coverage and is rolled on evenly. Take your time. I rolled the tops first, and then I would roll the face. I would roll the face real slow, because if you go any faster than this, you'll end up splattering that stain as you go. You just want to make sure you have coverage. After I finished rolling the face, I just used whatever stain was left on the roller, and I just rolled it out on the top of the fence. So I didn't spray any more up here. I just used what was left, and that's how I got enough coverage on the top. There's plenty of stain left in the roller to do this. And I do apologize while you're watching. I'm having a hard time keeping my pants up in this scene. I do have a health condition called no acetol syndrome, and it makes it kind of difficult for me to keep my pants up, so I apologize.
All right, my fence is done, and let's go ahead and do a little bit of product review. Starting with the Behr Premium Semi-Transparent Penetrating Oil Cedar Naturaltone Stain. Overall, I'm very happy with this stuff. I would buy it again. It is product number 4633. I did not add any tint to it, just right off the shelf. You can shake this and then use it right away without getting bubbles in it, which is nice for an oil product. Now, I would say my biggest frustration with this stuff was simply the fact that they claim the coverage is 350 to 400 square feet per gallon. Now, my fence is 178 linear feet times 6 feet tall. That's just over 1,000 square feet, and I ended up using 8 buckets. So I used 8 gallons. I did the 5 gallon, and then I had to go buy 3 more. So that comes out to roughly 22 linear feet of paint that you can do per gallon, which is 132 square feet is what I got out of every gallon. Now, it's quite a bit less coverage than what it says it was, which ended up costing me more. However, at the price point, I think I would have gotten the same coverage with the Sickens product, which I said is probably the best product on the market. But for that Sickens product, which is $365 for the 5 gallon bucket versus this, which was $165 for the 5 gallon bucket, I would say I'm pretty happy with this product. Now, this isn't penetrating oil, which means it's an oil-based product, which is nice because it dries very slowly. However, it is a mineral spirits or paint thinner cleanup. So I did actually have to do some cleanup last night because I needed to save my brush or my roller and the sprayer. And the guy at Home Depot told me that it was, even though it was an oil-based product, he said that it's a soap and water cleanup, and I didn't read the can. I just took his word for it, and I started cleaning up with soap and water, and it was a mess. It took forever to get this roller clean. I was able to get it cleaned out so I could use it again today, but my suggestion would be, if you're going to use this, just plan to throw away your roller and possibly your sprayer when you're done. Now, the last thing I'll say about this stain, it's oil-based versus there's others that are water-based, which are more of a paint. Now, I did not add any color to this. This is just right off the shelf. And you can see, so here's a fence post that got stained yesterday, and it dried throughout the night. And then here's some that I just sprayed about an hour ago, and I've been cleaning up. And you can see it is still wet. So that's the beauty of oil. You've got that sheen on there, and it just soaks into the wood slowly. Now, you do not want to do this into direct sunlight because the idea is for it to soak into the wood slowly. And if you do it in direct sunlight, it will dry out really fast, and it's not going to last very long. So do it in the shade or do it bright early morning like I am right now, where the sun's not on you. It's really cool out and it just soaks into the wood. And then you can see it goes on fairly dark. So there's what I just sprayed, and that's what I sprayed yesterday. So here's the division line about right here. And it does lighten up quite a bit. There's the real dark, just sprayed that. It lightens up quite a bit. This is exactly the look that we wanted. It brings out the cedar tone, it puts a little bit of color on it, and it's just gonna protect that wood so it doesn't look like junk as it ages. So I'm hoping to get 3 or 4 years out of this. Might have to do a recoat in maybe 3 years. But if I stick with the same product, hopefully I won't have to power wash again. So onto the sprayer, the Home Depot Deck Sprayer. This got the job done. I was not super happy with it. I would say it didn't put on the most even coat. You can see there's streaks getting put into the edges of the pattern. Now they did roll out, no problem when I did the roller, but that was probably my biggest frustration. And then at the very end of the project, literally in my last gallon, the O-ring, that little O-ring right there, you can see how it got smushed out of the side and then smushed onto the inside right there. That's that gray O-ring, and it no longer made the seal, so I had to fight this thing to get it to seal, just to get my last gallon of paint on right at the end of the project. So unfortunately, I'm probably just gonna pitch this thing again because it's oil cleanup. It is such a pain to clean unless you have the mineral spirits and you want to take the time to clean it out. I'm probably just gonna pitch this thing. It was less than 20 bucks. It got the job done. That's what I needed it for. Not worth replacing the O-ring on it for me. Hey, it's a couple days later, and I've now realized that that stream of stain that was coming out the edges of the fan on the sprayer actually went up and over the fence. This is my next door neighbor's house behind me, and you can see there is splatter on his wall. So I'm actually I would give that paint sprayer a 1-star review. I would not be using that again to stain a fence, because now I used the cheap sprayer and now I've got to pay to have my next door neighbor's house repainted on this wall. I did the right thing. I had to go tell the neighbor what had happened. I felt really bad about it. He said no problem. You know, I did get some on my house as well. I don't know if you could see if this, yeah, right in here. This is actually brand new siding, so we're not gonna worry about that because we're having the entire house painted next week actually. So I'm just gonna have those painters go ahead and hit my neighbor's wall. But there you can see where the neighbor's house is behind me. So basically I was spraying this corner of the fence, and that stream poked up over the fence and just splattered his house. Oh, there's the gate, sorry. But total bummer. So don't buy that. I would not buy that sprayer. I'll probably use, if I do this again, I'll either use that Air Wagner sprayer again. It does put on a really nice even coat, or I will use the, just rent a high pressure sprayer. The roller did great. This roller held up for the whole project. I was able to clean it out. It did not get filled up with oil throughout. It actually stayed pretty clear. This is more of like it's like almost like a shag carpet. It's not your typical paint roller, but it did a really nice job of evening out that paint, or that stain. There you go, it's Mother's Day, and the fence is looking great. We're getting the garden planted, and look at that beautiful fence. All that hard work paid off. Don't mind the messy patio. That's gonna be next month's video. We're gonna strip that down and reseal it. And if you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm really thirsty. I'm really thirsty.